Class 11 English Hornbill. Chapter 2 We are not afraid to die if we all can be together.
As the story begins, in July 1976, Gordon Cook, along with his wife Mary, son Jonathan, and daughter Susan, inspired by Captain James Cook, dreamt of duplicating the round-the-world voyage. They had spent past 16 years of all their leisure time honing their seafaring skills in the British waters. Their boat was called the Wave Walker, a 23-meter, 30-ton wooden-hulled beauty that had been professionally built. They had spent months fitting it out and testing it in the roughest weathers. Now this hurdles our curiosity to find out about the specifications of a boat and how it combats rough weather.
Now, before moving ahead, let's get familiar with certain terminologies that is unique to sailing. You would encounter hull, which is the lowest body of a boat whose front is bow and back is stern. The deck is the top of the hull, which has a cockpit and a companionway. The right side of the boat is called starboard and the left is port. Let's move up to the upper part of the boat called rig. The pole which holds the sails up is called mast. A storm jib is a triangular sail which sets forward the mast and is helpful for ships in bad weather conditions.
As their 3-year, 105,000-kilometer-long journey began, they had to sail down the west coast of Africa to Cape Town and tackle the world's roughest seas, the Southern Indian Ocean. They encountered strong gales that blew continuously, and even scarier was the alarming size of the waves, which was 15 meters, as high as their mainmast. The weather was also quite unpleasant. Now this intrigues us to find out what about the Southern Indian Ocean makes it the most atrocious sea of the world.
Sailing through the southern Indian Ocean is a challenging task owing to its characteristic of being one of the most deadly ocean waters. Unstable weather, dangerous conditions, high waves, and wild seas all make for a terrifying scene even for large ships. The ships at various turbulent places in the southern Indian Ocean may be confronted by doldrums and bands of low pressure wind. The sailors in such situations have to make strategic decisions on whether to maintain the course of the ship through the doldrums or deviate from the course. Wind speed and direction matter a lot while sailing, but currents also take an important position in the journey.
Now, continuing with the story, at dawn on January 2, the waves were gigantic. Unfriendly weather and gigantic waves compelled the sailors to slow their speed, drop storm jib, and take other precautions. The danger was so obvious that the sailors completed life raft drill, attached lifelines, and life jackets. Suddenly at 6 p.m., a tremendous explosion shook the Wave Walker and the author was thrown overboard. The ship was about to capsize when another gigantic wave hit it, tossing it upright once again. The author was thrown back onto the deck, his head and ribs smashing against the walls. In spite of his injuries, the narrator took charge of the situation. Somehow, he found the wheel, lined up the stem of the next wave, and hung until Mary appeared and took charge of the wheel. Larry and Herb started pumping out water like madmen. The whole starboard side bulged inwards. The narrator managed to cover canvas across the gaps to prevent water from entering the ship. Then came more problems. The hand pumps stopped working and electric pumps short-circuited. Fortunately, the narrator found a spare electric pump under the chart room that worked. The entire night was spent in pumping, steering, repairing, and sending radio signals. The narrator checked charts and calculated that the Amsterdam, a French scientific base, was their only hope. Sue and John were injured, but they said that they were not afraid to die if they could all be together. Sue's head was swollen and she had a deep injury. The narrator became more determined, seeing his children's courage. Finally, they reached Amsterdam, a volcanic island where they were welcomed by 28 inhabitants. Thus, the collective strength and never failing optimism of the sailors made it possible for them to come out of the jaws of death. Though Jonathan and Susan did not do anything to save Waywalker, but their courage, forbearance, faith, and optimism gave extra strength and persistence to the narrator and his team. The bravery of the strong willed children is noteworthy in the story.